Andy, I miss a day and like the world goes to madness, it seems like. Maybe it's not, maybe it's always in a constant state of madness and
Yeah.
that's just the way it goes.
Dave, we
So
live in the madness now. I don't know if you've been to America in 2025. I refer to it as the Bizarro America cinematic universe. We are in the madness. We live here.
it is, I mean, again, we kind of felt like this was gonna happen, but you never when it exceeds even your wildest expectations, you're like you just but we can talk about a little of that in later on in one of our segments where it's buyer's remorse, maybe, Andy. I don't know. So
Yeah. No, let's get there, Dave. Let's get there. But happy Friday, February 28th, Dave, the last day of the second month of the year. Time is moving forward for all to goods and bad. So here we go,
and,
wrapping up the month.
and one of your favorite days tomorrow, Andy, I think, or your geeky days, like it's the start of meteorological or whatever it is, spring
Spring.
tomorrow, isn't it?
That's right. Well, now you've got me confused early in the morning. I forget whether there's the two starts of the seasons. Tomorrow, I think, is meteorological spring, and then we'll have the other one later in the month, which
The
name is
equinox, yeah,
eluding me at
whatever
this
it is,
moment.
yeah.
But we are,
I
Dave.
know.
I mean, it's been beautiful here in Virginia this week. It's been pleasantly warm. My garage doors have been open during my workouts. The sun's been out a good bit. I think allergies are kicking in pretty
It
aggressively,
is.
what it feels like. So, yeah, that's right. We're moving forward into better weather, better days ahead, Dave. Better days ahead, or the collapse of the republic, one or the other. I mean,
One
maybe
of those.
both. Maybe both. Maybe both. Who knows?
Well, let's get into some things here, Andy, first. First of all, Andy, I was absent on Wednesday. You did a great job on the pod by doing a solo job, Andy. I think you covered some really important topics there. For the listeners, I was dealing with some family loss. My father passed away on Tuesday. I think I'd mentioned on the pod that I had gone up and visited him in the hospital. Everything seemed to be going well, getting back on track for him. And then my brothers and I were still working out coverages, how we're going to make sure dad is okay. And it's never a good feeling when your dad doesn't answer his texts or phone
Yeah.
calls when you call or call you right back. And we knew something was amiss, and so we decided to send a welfare check to the house. And I would highly encourage this if families are ever concerned about loved ones. Welfare checks are very easy. You just call the police department non-emergency number, and they'll run by the house. And unfortunately, my father had passed away, and so it's been a tough time. But it is also it's been good because my brothers and I came together. We all went up to the house that day and we just started going through the house, and great memories come back up. I will tell you, Andy, two amazingly funny stories.
Yeah.
Just classic my dad. My dad grew up on a farm. His dad was very hard, a depression dad, learned about the value of saving money and stuff, and my grandfather invested his money wisely, never was a man of all this capitalist materialism,
Yeah.
lived what he could, and he saved a lot and passed that down to us, and then my dad did the same for us, and it's very funny. But there's also some of that old behaviors in him. So Andy, we're going through the house, and my mom passed away about 10 years ago. And so we did some of it 10 years ago,
Yeah.
but clearly not enough. So we're going through the house and we start finding, little cases of ammunition around. And I'm like, okay, I knew my dad had guns. I didn't think he had actually, I thought he had sold all of them.
Yeah.
But okay, so we're like, okay, if there's ammunition here, there's a gun somewhere. So you find one type of 9 millimeter ammunition, then you find 22 caliber ammunition, and then you find shotgun shells, and you're like, okay, three different types of weapons somewhere in this house. And
Yeah.
slowly but surely, I found two of them, Andy. I found two of them, and I'm still looking for the shotgun. But that's
Were these like strategically placed ammo supplies? So like he like run to the window and start shooting the adversary, or like like
my dad had this fear of being robbed. And so this goes to the next part, Andy. My grandfather had accumulated a lot of valuable coins over the years, and he passed those down.
Yeah,
Again, the money, coins, collecting coins and stuff was very important for some people, especially in the Depression era.
yeah,
And so he passed all that down. Well, we started finding, just like the ammunition, little things of coins strategically placed all around this house. And it's like amazing. Like you're sitting there like classic dad. If he got robbed, the one he was going to have the guns. Now, mind you, one of the pistols was so, I mean, it's an older weapon, but
yeah,
it hadn't been oiled or anything. And so, like, he would never have been able to fire that without
yeah.
a lot of force. And so, it's just kind of funny to see what you discover when you're going back through the house. So,
Yeah, yeah, you know, memories are awesome. I think the eccentricities of individuals, you know,
yeah,
are awesome. You know, just to like, I mean, like, you know, we can sit in our own sort of thoughts right now. Like, we've probably got some individual habits and things that we know our kids are going to look back on one day and be like, "Fucking dad," you know,
yeah,
because things that we
exactly.
all do, you know. So I'm glad you're getting a chance to connect. You know, it's amazing to just the cycle of life, right? As generations pass, as we get older, and then as you see, you know, kids starting their lives, as you see new children being born, it really is just it's a humbling thing to, you know, that life just continues to have a continuous cycle of birth and passing and renewal, and it's really amazing. And you know, really for all the chaos around us, just to be able to stop and appreciate family and history and you know what we're a part of and all the good things we enjoy in life, separate from the chaos of the nonsense of life. I'm glad you're there with your brothers and you're able to, you know, remember some of your dad's quirkiness and sort of celebrate him. And I'm just imagining little bags of coin, you know, all around the house. Like, you know, you might get one bag, but you're not gonna get all my
You're
coin.
not getting them
You
all. That's
know,
exactly right. Andy, we found one of them in a luggage, like a, you carry on luggage that was
smart.
stuck in the back corner of some closet that nobody ever went into.
I'll never check here, the bastards.
Like it was so funny, and like others were buried under piles of paper, and I, you're trying to clean out and stuff, declutter and get the
Yeah,
house, and like so my brothers and I were like, hey, we can't, don't just throw things in trash bags, like we need to make sure you go through everything. So it was quite the eccentric, whatever, the
a little
unique.
eccentric. Yeah,
Yeah, eccentric. Um, it's just so funny, and so, but it's been a good time to be
good.
able to go through and relive some of this. And, it's a sad closing of the chapter too. So, because both my parents are now passed away, and so it's like, what is the next step of what your larger extended family looks like, and so it's be interesting to see. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry for your loss, but I'm glad you're getting a chance to enjoy some things, you know, as you go through this transitional process. So thanks for sharing that with us, Dave.
Yeah, thanks for letting me share for a minute there, Andy. And I'm sure others have had similar experiences with parents passing and finding coins in the corners of hallways and such like that. So, all right, Andy, let's go into our next topic here. And we mentioned it earlier at the beginning of the pod, buyer's remorse, Andy. We're starting to see stories and polls and everything come out about, well, hey, I voted for Trump, but I didn't really know that this is what I was getting. And now I'm the one impacted. Now, some of this, some of it is people trying to get likes or clicks on their reels or the Instagram or TikToks or whatever. But I think there has been now polling data that comes out and says there are some of the Republican Party that is pulling back a little bit about some of the areas that the president is going and his I don't know, his vice president, Elon Musk, or his co-president. I don't know what we call him.
Yeah.
Um, all the work that's being done here. And so interesting times ahead. You covered a little bit about the Doge resignations on earlier this week. And so I don't know what to say to people. Like Donald Trump is very transparent. He says what he's going to do and he does what he says. And you can choose to believe it or not, but oh, so it's a rough go, Andy.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's it's interesting to see this process play out because there's so much happening, but people are still, I mean, there's still a lot of people very supportive of what the president's doing. And I think because it
Yep.
goes to the idea that some of the ideas that he's touching upon are ideas that a lot of people have sort of been ready for a long time. Like, I mean, I've often said, like, and we talked about it, Dave, just recently, like, most people are open to the idea that maybe government is a little bit too bloated and needs to sort of focus, right? Now, the challenge with Mr. Trump is he does it in such violent, derogatory, assholish ways that it makes everybody else sort of be like even if there's good, there's terrible here, and that outweighs the good, and it sets back real conversations. I mean, heaven forbid somebody bring up the idea of reducing the size of government after the chaos we're going through right now. It's going to make convincing anybody that's something to take seriously that much harder, right? But rather than just say, hey, we need to focus government efforts in this area, that area, he dismisses government workers as terrible people, and American society is bloated and off track, and it just makes it so hard to support him, even if people kind of support him. So I think he's still getting some support from parts of America. But he's also seeing a lot of people kind of look at things and say, I don't think I like this. Like, this isn't what I want, right now. And so his poll numbers are starting to go down. They're starting to go down. People are starting to look at him and say, we don't like what he's trying to do. And a new poll came out saying that over half of Americans, 52%, now think he's going to pursue a third term, which is unconstitutional. So people are looking at him and saying, like, this guy seems to be acting and wanting to be a king, and he seems to be hurting our country, even if he's doing some things that maybe agree, like maybe a little bit less foreign spending would be good. Maybe a little bit of reduction in our military spending would be good. Like, these are maybe not terrible things, but the way in which you're doing them is, well, like many have said recently, like, you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You're destroying America's reputation. You're hurting a lot of people along the way. The ends definitely don't justify the means.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think just the way that a lot of this has been done, and this is coming on as NOAA has fired now 800 people over the last day or so. They just keep on coming, and again, I think we've talked about it. We are supportive of elimination of government waste, but the manner in which it's been done, it just
Yeah,
gets exhausting,
yeah,
and that will ultimately turn things off. And the president's polling numbers coming down, I think this is pretty common for many presidents, but there are a lot of warning signs that are coming in. And Andy, we're only 2 months into, actually like 5 weeks, six
yeah,
weeks
yeah.
into this 4-year term. And it just seems like every day it's flood the zone with information so that you're overloaded and overwhelmed and you can't process what is really going on. And that's, I think, some of the concern. Did you see the AI um, Gaza Trump or Trump Gaza thing too, Andy? I mean,
Yes, yes.
this
It hurt my brain.
I thought this was fake, but yet when the president himself posts it, like in some respects, I
It's mind
conduct unbecoming of a president, it has to be a thing here soon, Andy, I think.
it's wild, Dave. I mean, yeah, the fact the president posted this video, if you haven't seen it, America, just like what I mentioned Wednesday, like with the Musk Trump toe sucking video,
Yes.
please don't watch it. Like, don't hurt yourself to watch it. But Dave, it's so crazy. I mentioned Wednesday that I still have a hard time wrapping my head around sort of the Christian embrace of Donald Trump, right? And again, I'm a Christian. A lot of people that don't support the president are, but there's a heavy portion of the church community that is like diehard Trump. And you look at this video, Dave, he's got Donald Trump gold balloons. There's a Donald Trump idols shop with little baby golden Donald Trumps. You've got him and Netanyahu sitting on the beach having drinks. You've got bearded belly dancers on the beach. You're just like, what the hell am I looking at in this chaos? And it's just so, I mean, it's so disrespectful to the people that are actually there now, but it's so insane. I mean, the whole video is just insane. Like, is this the future that anybody wants? Like, is this so, like, is this image that I'm seeing like something we want? Trump hotels and Gaza, and it is crazy. I don't know. I mean, how did you react as you saw it?
Well, I thought it was fake. I mean, it's so like over the top that like clearly this couldn't be real.
Yeah,
And then, the fact that he promoted it, I was
yeah,
like, what are we like? What on earth are we doing here? This is just like conduct that I just cannot. I just who does this type of stuff other than Donald Trump? I mean,
yeah.
God bless.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. So this is where we lived. I mean, one very strange thing about this presidency, right? That
one
it's
strange thing.
illegal. Well, one strange thing,
Okay.
not illegal because not explicitly made illegal, but is the idea of profiting off the presidency, right? So you got a
Yeah.
president who's wants to build a real estate empire in Gaza. A president who's selling meme coin as he gets inaugurated. The MAGA shop is going wild, right? Get your red MAGA hat, get your black MAGA hat, like so. The idea of making money off of the presidency. And you're seeing in other ways too. I mean, a lot of people are making money off of Donald Trump, right? And being in his circle, it's not all new. I mean, you go back to the allegations against President Biden and Hunter Biden and the idea. I mean, so it's not like it's necessarily all new, but like everything that this president does, just a whole nother level. It's just a whole nother level. And it's not maybe like Congress should look at laws to limit like their own gift getting, like their own, again, congressmen get extremely rich while serving in Congress while getting a good but not extremely rich salary. So that should be looked at. But also, maybe the president shouldn't be allowed to profit off of his position while serving in office. Like go do what you want afterwards, but not while you're serving as a president. It just looks so gross.
Yeah, gross is the appropriate word. And so with that, Andy, let's switch off topics because I think I will vomit if we
Yeah.
talk much
Thank
more
you.
about it.
Thank you.
But Andy, here's the thing. I mean, we'll be able to just pick this back up on Monday because I'm sure more asinine shit will occur over the weekend.
Yeah.
So, all right, Andy, it didn't my sports lull didn't last very long because the NFL has come back roaring with
Yes.
intensity. They
Yes.
continued to dominate the offseason, Andy. They
Yes.
dominate the offseason. With the speculation of big trades as we head into the combine,
Yeah.
first on combine news, one Abdul Carter, who's projected by many to be the number one draft pick,
Yeah.
might have to have surgery on his foot. He had an injury this year playing for Penn State with his shoulder, but nothing about his foot. Now there's coming out about some of his foot. So will that maybe make him not the number one draft pick? Hard to tell, but that news is dominating out there. But Andy, a former Lion of yours, a Super Bowl winning former Lion, quarterback
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Ooh, the news is a swirling about where Matthew Stafford is going to go, but you could say, wait a second, he has a contract. What would he need? Well,
Yeah.
he's trying to get out of that contract because he's trying to make as much money as Jalen Hurts and some of these other top tier quarterbacks in the $50 million range. And he's at odds. He's at odds with the Rams, who has it's been a really good fit for him being in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So, Andy, the news of your former quarterback, Matt Stafford, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, Dave, look, Stafford endured a lot in Detroit, right? I mean,
Oh,
he was
crushing.
drafted, yeah, and he came out of the 0-16 season, number one draft pick, young Georgia Bulldog, Matthew Stafford, and just suffered under shitty coaching, bad teams, just never got to like fully appreciate his talents. And then he goes to the Rams in the blockbuster trade. Dave, he retires Tom Brady on his way to Super Bowl. Of course, Tom Brady came back, but he retires Tom Brady in a great playoff game. He wins a Super Bowl on an all-star LA Rams team, brings it home in LA for the Rams, and he's playing good football. I think he's 37 right now, and he's
Yeah.
still playing very, very well. He's an incredibly talented quarterback. He's a leader. He's seasoned. He can still throw the ball right. We're not talking about Aaron Rodgers here. And people like him. Like nobody complains about Matt Stafford in the locker room. They complain about his wife plenty. They don't complain about Matt Stafford. He could go to any team and do well. I think he's saying, look, I've got a couple years left probably. I wouldn't mind winning again. I'd also like to cash out and make some big time money like these other guys are because I may be better than them. Like why not now? Part of me is like, why would the Rams even consider trading Matt Stafford? Like bring in a young rookie, let him play behind Stafford for a couple years, get him ready, and then let him take over the team. But maybe there's some trade picks to be made. Maybe there's some opportunity here for both sides. And so, yeah, the Matt Stafford sweepstakes are starting to get some conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting to see some of this play out because I think he is 37. He's near the end of he wants a couple more years on his contract, but you mentioned Aaron Rodgers. And we've benefited from Tom Brady playing high level football into his 40s, but when hits started to drop off for Tom Brady, it went pretty quick with him. LeBron James is another one. He's been like he is pumping out like career highs or near career highs or averages on his play, and he's in his
Yeah,
40s now. I think a lot of people have been given this idea that I can too play in the 40s, but
yeah.
I mean, do we forget Peyton Manning, his noodle arm, his last year or two? I mean,
I mean,
and
Brady's
it
last season, Brady's comeback was terrible.
yeah, that Brady's last season was not good either. And I think this is this is what the Rams are guarding against, I think. And that's why they're really reluctant to give him $100 million 2-year contract extension or something
Yeah,
when he could. I mean, Matt Stafford's been beaten up. You mentioned it, so maybe it's not going to be right for them. Now, there is a team, speaking of Tom Brady, that is quite interested or coming to the forefront. They need a quarterback.
yeah.
Las Vegas Raiders might be in the services for one Matt Stafford. Talk about a fit. That could be really good fit for them.
It could be good for them. I don't know if it's good for Stafford because the Raiders aren't going to win anything next year, right? I mean, I mean, that division is really hard. You know, the conference is hard. The Raiders kind of suck. I think they need more than a quarterback. So, it looks like the Raiders are building sort of hey, let's build something over these next 3 years and get capable, and then let's keep it going. So like let's bring in Pete Carroll and let's bring in Chip Kelly, right? Let's set the stage for now and maybe for the future. Maybe let's bring in Matt Stafford and let him do the best he can for a few years, get us forward, and then we bring somebody in to take us into the future. Like maybe. And the Raiders seem to be trying to actually become a legitimate franchise again because they've been treading water in garbage land for a long time. So maybe you're also hearing rumors about him coming back to the NFC North potentially. Not really sure if that's a fit, but people are saying maybe the Vikings. I don't know how that would work exactly. You're hearing a lot of talk about him going to the Giants and talk about him going to the Jets. Any of those, I think, are possible. And both the Giants and Jets seem to have other talent on their rosters. Like they both seem like teams that maybe could, with good coaching, and maybe the Giants have good coaching. Maybe Aaron Glenn being with the Jets now, and otherwise talented players on some of those rosters. The Giants may not as much. Like maybe he goes in and he can be that dynamic change and get one of those guys back in the playoffs. So I think it's fun to see. I think he'll still play well for another couple of years. I think Stafford's still playing good football, taking care of himself. So I think it's going to be one of those fun stories. Matt Stafford, Myles Garrett, Max Crosby. There's some other players out there that are potentially game changers for teams.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch. So, other news, Andy, um, America's boyfriend, Travis Kelsey, is coming back. He's announced this week that he's coming back to play one more year. This was obvious, Andy. I one and he referenced it. He like they went out bad. He did not have a great season.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ridicule on him right now, being the boyfriend of the most famous singer in the world, one of the most famous people in the world. And so this was. I mean, I would have put really good money on it if you could.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Travis Kelsey coming back, Andy?
I mean, he's a competitor. I mean, he's a competitor. He wants to win. The Chiefs still think they don't think their window's closed, right? They still think they're going to come back and be in the Super Bowl again next year because they go every year. I think he wants to come back and play. And he didn't have a great season. Now this could be maybe a bad call. Like he's also getting older. He plays a tough position to get older in. You get hit a lot. So, Kelsey, he might come back and have a great season. He might come back and it could be absolutely horrible. So we'll see. But I think for the Chiefs, I think one more run with Travis Kelsey, Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid as they build for their future. I think it makes sense. I think it makes sense for all sides. He's going to get paid. They're going to have a chance. If you've got those three together, you've got a chance. So it makes sense. Not a surprise. I think the bigger question, will he still be with um, Taylor Swift in the new season? That's the bigger question America's probably trying to figure out.
Yeah, well, maybe not, but yeah, that's true. That's true. So, all right, Andy, we'll wrap up that side. And Andy, did you see the story? We'll just wrap up this week podcast with. Did you see the story about Gene Hackman, Andy?
I did. I'm sorry for his passing. I mean, he was up there. He wasn't a young man. He's done a lot, had a great career. But yeah, still confused about what happened in the Hackman
Yeah,
house.
this is very confusing. So it looks like for about 2 weeks they'd been dead in the house.
Yeah,
No, no visible signs of foul play, but it's suspicious enough that they're opening up the investigation on a dog was well, their German Shepherd was found in a closet.
yeah,
The both of them were found in separate areas, but both I mean just really unusual. So we let's see where that investigation takes us over the next couple days, and maybe we'll revisit this on week. But Gene Hackman, one of my favorite actors of all time, legendary roles.
yeah.
He played the great Norman Dale in Hoosiers, which is one of my favorite roles. But he also played great performances in The French Connection. With all these other, it's so many different roles,
Yeah.
all on the Crimson
We talked
Tide.
about Tom Cruise in a few good men, recently, Dave. I mean, he was great in that role. Well, that wasn't Gene Hackman. Sorry, I'm mixing up with Jack
Yeah, what are
Nicholson.
you doing? Get
Sorry,
out of
sorry,
here.
sorry, sorry.
Hey, I did the same thing, so you corrected me a couple weeks times ago. So I get to correct you this time. All right, Andy. Yeah, so we'll have to check on that one, but we'll wrap up this pod for this week. Again, appreciate you filling in for me. Schedule might be a little fluid next week, Andy, with me. So we'll just have to go through the services next week. So we'll see how we come on and present. But I hope you have a good weekend, and we'll catch up with you next time.